Hey, welcome back to Evil's Comics. This guy right here is Evil Mike, or Mike if you prefer, and I got a review for you today. Today we're going to be talking about Image Comics Void Rivals issue number 4. It is written by Robert Kirkman, art by Lorenzo De Felici, colors by Matheus, Lopez, and letters by Rus Wooton. Before we get started, please like, comment, subscribe on this guy's channel. It does help. Hit the bell. You never know when I'm going to be dropping videos. It'll keep you in touch. So without further ado, let's get into it. So we are with the Zethonian and the Argonian, so Lily and Derek, right? And they're finally on their way to their home planets. And the last issue we saw that so Lily had overpowered Derek and kind of incapacitated him, but she kind of forgot about his hand robot, and that's where we kick off right here. The hand robot has activated now that Derek is passed out on the ground, and he's doing what we've already seen him to do, trying to get this dude to safety. He instantly grabs his like shock blaster kind of thing and you know, holds it to So Lily's face. So Lily explains that she's kind of already anticipated something like that, but she has her spear and states that if she goes unconscious or passes out or anything like that, the spear will just go through the, you know, host helmet, and both the hand robot and Derek will be dead. So he has to surrender. Basically at this time she's taken him to her home planet, and that's what we're about to see. Our main dude, you know, kind of on the cover right here. That's why I grabbed this cover. But this is the home planet of the Zethirans. I don't know how you say it. But this is Premier Zaliak, and he is basically like their king. You know, they call him the Premier, but he's basically the guy in charge. And we come into the scene, and it's this guy begging for more resources from the capital. He comes from a smaller city, but before he can even get going, he is interrupted by one of his, like, you know, security, stating that they picked up a ship from deep space that has made it into their space, and it happens to have the right codes or something like that. So he already kind of, as soon as this guy mentions it, he knows that it's So Lily. And he also, and during the codes, it was mentioned that she had a prisoner, and you know, at Agarian. So he kind of already has like some knowledge before she even gets there. There's a conversation about, you know, to So Lily to Derek about how, you know, the present situation needs to be handled. Basically, they can't mention that they took off their helmets, that they don't know each other, that they managed to survive, you know, together, and that's kind of it. Derek does agree to this, and then we kind of go forth. He's paraded in front of like everybody, which is kind of funny because it was the first time he had seen these people, and yet they're just parading him in front of everybody. And as you can see, they're not even wearing the helmets like everybody else. So they're not even that scared of hiding the secret. But, you know, she's brought forward in front of Premier Zaliak with the prisoner, and she stated that she's done this greatness because, lo and behold, they do know who the prisoner is, that he happens to be somebody special. And then we kind of cut out. There's this scene where we get this badass spread of Shockwave from Transformers, and it's kind of this background story with this dude who managed to this Skulloid that managed to catch this Quintessence, and he took him to Cybertron to try and sell to Shockwave. Shockwave mentions that they have no money or resources. Basically, the little bit of energon that he has is what's powering him to monitor and keep Cybertron safe. He also mentions that all the other Decepticons that are still on Cybertron are in deep slumber because they don't have enough energon to keep them going, kind of thing. And he mentions to that Skullux guy that he needs to get the hell out of there, or he's basically got to break down his ship and use it for resources for the ongoing Cybertronian war. And that's kind of where we got off. It kind of has similarities because it's the same thing they're kind of going to do with Derek here. Lo and behold, our you know, the conversation between So Lily and Premier Zaliak goes forth, and he basically states that he knows who the pilot is because it's their most famous pilot, and he happens to be, we know he's like a son to the king or whatever. This is stated during this conversation, but there's also a question that arises about, you know, did she happen to see his face? Did her helmet come off? Did his helmet come off? And before she can answer, the book jumps over to Derek, and basically he's trying to figure a way out of the prison cell that he's in. He's trying to get his hand robot to analyze the room, and the hand robot just mentions that the Zetheronians are kind of a little more advanced in their architectural builds and that kind of stuff. Before he can even like start to try and figure out, you know, any more routines, the hand robot cuts him off and states that there's not going to be any need for escape because they're keeping him alive for a reason. They should have killed him by now, but the fact that they put him into a nice cushy cell means that they're probably going to end up trading him back to his species, so not to worry. Before it can go any further, we see that Solili is thrown into the prison cell with him. Come to find out off that question, the Premier Xylek had already known that she had seen this dude's face based off of her slow response. And come to find out, the Zetheronians, the Zetherans, they already know the big secret. It is revealed that they know that the people are blue and they're green, and so her trump card was used for nothing, kind of thing. Derek even kind of points this out, and him and the hand robot both laugh at her, and she kind of just, you know, says she hates him, kind of thing, but not in a real way. We get this this last scene with Premier Xylek, and he's basically contacting the premier of the other guys. You know, we find out it's a minister title, but basically he's contacting their head of people, which happens to be that dude's father, and he's like, hey bro, you know, we got this prisoner, it's this this Aragoian, he's a famous pilot, and you know, usually when somebody finds out our secret, we're supposed to kill him, so I thought I'd give you the heads up. And his father's like, yeah, well, who you got? And he was like, well, we got your son, you know, what you want to do about that? And he's like, well, continue with the regular way we do with this. I don't have time for this, I'll see you later, deuce. And he like hits the hang up button, and you know, he leaves out. And this guy's like, what, you want us to kill your son? And that's where the issue leaves off with. So it looks like he's not going to be traded. There is a last little bit down here. I think Chris, the comic vet, he actually made it into the letters section. You can actually read his letter. It was I thought it was an informative, you know, little letter that Chris. What was the question that Chris asked? It didn't really get answered, but it was still kind of cool. But we get a preview page, you know, cover to the next issue. Basically, it's our dude Derek, and he's tied up, waiting to find out what's going to happen to him, and that's it. You know, I will like to mention that this week there is a preview of Transformers that dropped in the back of this issue, but it's because Transformers, the main issue, dropped this week, a part of this Energon issue. You know, the Energon universe or whatever dropped it, you know, on Wednesday this week. So if you are interested in that, and it is continuing the story from Void Rivals issue number 1, when Jetfire flew off, you know, to go track down Cybertron. Supposedly he ends up in Transformer number 1. I will have that, but it will be next week, so be on the lookout for that review. That's all I got for you guys. I'll let you go. Bah!